Something big is happening behind the scenes in Santa Clara, and it could define the next decade for the San Francisco 49ers. You may not see it in the headlines yet, but dig a little deeper, and you'll see that the franchise is quietly laying the groundwork for a long-term trajectory. And it starts with some strategic moves that only the most forward-thinking organizations dare to make. It's not about extravagant free agent signings or dramatic trades. No, it's about planning, foresight, and a front office trying to build something sustainable, something lasting. So if you're a die-hard fan, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, because what's happening right now could be the beginning of a new golden era, and it's all happening in the shadow of the 2025 and 2026 NFL drafts. Let's break it down. The 49ers have been vocal all offseason. They want to build something during the draft. That's not just lip service. At the NFL Combine, we got our first real glimpse of this new vision when John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan spoke openly about cutting salaries, rejuvenating, and injecting fresh energy into the locker room. True to their word, San Francisco allowed several standout veterans to walk in free agency, players like Aaron Banks, Charvarius Ward, and Talanoa Hufanga signed lucrative contracts elsewhere. This was no accident. The Niners are positioning themselves for a youth movement, and that plan has gained momentum with the 2025 draft. San Francisco brought in 11 rookies and a few undrafted free agents, most of whom have one thing in common. They're elite athletes with a knack for stopping the run. You've got guys like Mel Williams and Alfred Collins, raw in some areas, especially as pass rushers, but outstanding against the ground game. Add to that C.J. West, Nick Martin, and Upton Stout, and you've got a defensive infusion of young, physical, fast, and motivated talent. These aren't just depth signings. These are foundational pieces for a defense that had lost some of its physical identity. But here's where things get really interesting. When you zoom out and look toward 2026, the 49ers are on track to hold 10 draft picks next year. That's 3 picks in the top 3 rounds, 6 within the top 4 rounds, and 8 inside the first 5. How? Compensatory picks. After losing Aaron Banks to Green Bay, Charvarius Ward to Indianapolis, and Talanoa Hufanga to Denver, the Niners are poised to receive extra mid-round selections. And while some potential comp picks were cancelled out due to signings like Luke Farrell and Josh Dobbs, the net result is still a war chest of picks that gives the Niners flexibility few other franchises can match. And why does that matter? Because smart franchises plan ahead. You look at how the Philadelphia Eagles operate, locking up players early, using the draft to refresh their roster annually, and staying out of salary cap hell. That's exactly what John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan are trying to do. If this new crop of rookies pans out, and if the team nails the 2026 draft, the Niners are set up not just for a playoff push, but for sustained success well into the next decade. But, of course, none of this works if your quarterback situation isn't solid. And that brings us to Brock Purdy, the former Mr. Irrelevant turned franchise cornerstone. After locking up George Kittle with a historic 4-year, $76.4 million extension, all eyes are now on Purdy's looming deal. He's been the NFL's biggest bargain since taking over the starting job in 2022, making under $1 million per year while leading one of the league's most dynamic offenses. But that's about to change. Reports indicate the 49ers are deep in negotiations with Purdy's camp, targeting a contract in the $48 to $60 million range. That's a wide window, sure, but what's clear is that both sides want to get a deal done, ideally before training camp. Why the urgency? Because San Francisco has learned the hard way what happens when you delay these extensions. Overpaying later. Unnecessary drama in the preseason, distractions in the locker room. The team wants to avoid all that. They want to be like the Eagles, sign players early, get below-market deals, and maintain financial flexibility for the rest of the roster. And for fans who might be worried about overpaying Purdy, don't be. He's not just a good fit for Shanahan's system. He's been elite within it. Since taking over the offense, he's delivered consistent, high-level play. He's accurate, composed, efficient, And he's revived the careers of guys like George Kittle, who has scored 21 touchdowns in 36 games with Purdy at the helm. Locking him up now at around $50 million per year could look like a bargain in just a couple of seasons, especially if other young quarterbacks keep resetting the market. And that's the trend you need to keep your eye on. The 49ers are finally showing signs of changing their contract philosophy. Getting Kittle's deal done early was a statement. Now Purdy could be next. It's a new era in Santa Clara, not just because of who's on the field, but because of how the front office is thinking. Long-term, strategic, calculated. This is the type of approach that builds dynasties, not one-and-done playoff runs. Sustained dominance. What do you think, Faithful? Are you on board with the front office's new vision? Drop a comment and let us know. Let's pick up right where we left off, because the 49ers blueprint is far from finished, and the second half of this plan might be the most telling. Everything about the Niners' current direction screams preparation, not just for next season, but for what's coming 2, 3, even 5 years down the line. And here's the real kicker. This isn't just about finding cheaper players through the draft. It's about reshaping the very identity of the team. Look around. Deebo Samuel could be on the move. Brandon Ayuk is banged up with no clear timeline. That means one thing. George Kittle isn't just the highest-paid tight end in NFL history. He's about to become the undisputed cornerstone of this offense, especially in the passing game. And that's strategic. Why? Because tight ends like Kittle age better than most wide receivers. He's reliable, durable. Outside of 2020, he's played in at least 14 games every year. He blocks like a lineman, moves like a receiver, and he fits Kyle Shanahan's offense like a glove. When you lose star receivers or can't count on their availability, having a weapon like Kittle who can do it all becomes even more valuable. More than just his on-field production, Kittle is a tone setter. He's the guy who's there to greet rookies like Mel Williams at the facility, showing them what being a Niner means. Along with Fred Warner, these aren't just captains, they're cultural architects. You can't rebuild without keeping your foundation. You need players who represent the identity you're trying to protect, especially when you're blending in new, unproven talent. And don't overlook the message these extensions send, not just to the fan base, but to the locker room. We take care of our own. That means something, especially when young guys see that if you ball out in red and gold, the franchise will reward you. That motivates a rookie class, builds trust, and breeds loyalty. So now it's your turn. Faithful, how do you feel about this transformation? Is this the right direction for the Niners? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Should Brock be next in line for a big payday? Don't forget to click the like button and subscribe to the channel. Go Niners!